Hi, I'm Tom Walsh. I'm the State Representative from the 12th Essex District, which represents most of Peabody. Again, it's Wards 1 through 4 and Ward 5, Precincts 1 and Precinct 3. But as I always say, if anybody calls from the City of Peabody and needs some assistance, we're available to everybody, no matter what the address. What I'd like to do today is really kind of update since my last discussion with everyone. It's been several months. I think the last time we talked about the beginning stages of the budget. And we are at the point now where both the House and the Senate have passed their respective budgets, and the conference committee is now working out the differences between the two. It's a $40 billion budget. There has been a significant increase in Chapter 70 money, which is school aid. Actually, it's somewhat unprecedented, the point where we have reached there. And then unrestricted general local aid has been increased as well, and important to our local community, obviously, because when the City Council and the school committee and the mayor set their budgets, it's important for them to know what they'll be receiving in state assistance. So we try to get that done early so they have a sense of how to build their budget. So, you know, the budget process is always interesting. I think I mentioned the last time that we toured the state and we held hearings as far out as Pittsfield. We were down in New Bedford. We were actually in Peabody. We held one of the hearings on education. Senator Lovely and I were chairing that committee. And it was, you know, I thought it was a nice thing for Peabody, but also a very important piece of the actual budget. So we are now moving, again, waiting for the conference committee to give their report. Then we will vote up or down on the budget. Then it will go to the governor's desk, and then he has some time to scour the budget, make any vetoes, and then we have some time to respond to that if there are any. So, you know, the interesting thing is it's a back and forth. You read in the newspapers all the time, you know, little pieces of the budget, but it's really an incredibly comprehensive document that covers every facet of state government. So, you know, we do our best with it. What I've found being back here is there's never enough money. So you have to say no to certain individuals and certain groups, because we just can't be everything to everybody as much as we would like to. Housing, by far, is our most difficult issue, and we get calls every week from people who are either losing their home and are looking for housing. We have situations where someone wants to move. They've been in one housing facility and are trying to move to another. It is the most difficult because we have an incredible demand for housing stock, and we just don't have enough in the various ranges. I think I've also mentioned before that we've had situations where we've had seniors who've sold their homes and thought they didn't want the upkeep of the home, so they move into an apartment. And what happens is the rent increases occur every year, and their fixed income is not rising at the rate the rents are. So trying to assist them as well. So you need every level of housing stock. We just did a housing bond bill about a month or so ago, and what that bill is trying to do is assist with subsidizing more public housing, offering tax credits for building of new units, and really trying to help our housing authorities as they grapple with this problem. Recently, we passed a criminal justice reform bill in the House and the Senate, and that too is in conference. And I think one of the most important pieces of that bill is it now classifies carfentanil and fentanyl on the federal schedule, which to most of us, you say, yeah, what does that mean? What it means is that the penalties are different, and you know, what we've had sometimes is we've had an instance where fentanyl or carfentanil wasn't on that list, and it had been mixed in with heroin or another drug, but they couldn't be charged for the carfentanil. So with this bill, and a lot of this work was done by Representative Tucker of Salem, but it was included in our comprehensive criminal justice bill. Incredibly important as we continue the opioid battle. All these little incremental pieces hopefully will lead to some success as we move forward with that. Recently, we passed the tobacco bill, which is really ban tobacco products in schools, and you know, you have to be 21 to purchase any of these tobacco products. We are one of 5 states now that will actually have a statewide ban. It's been really occurring across the country, community by community. but now what we're seeing is states are adopting so that we have consistent rules across the board. Very important. You know, it's really been one of those experiences that has been tremendously rewarding for me, because the last couple of years we've had the Healthy Peabody Collaborative come in. Sandy Drover brings a bunch of students from the high school, and they really have the opportunity to not only advocate to me, and that sounds a little pompous, I guess, but they see different parts of the State House and they learn how state government works, all at the same time pushing an initiative that is in fact going to really keep people healthy and hopefully save a few lives. A few weeks ago we had the biotech conference here in the Boston area, and one of the reasons that these companies choose Massachusetts is because over the course of the last 10 years or so, we have had a life sciences bill. That was a 10-year, I believe it was $1 billion investment in life sciences, biotechnology, into our universities, some startup companies, there was some seed money. And then we recently adopted the next step to that, which is just under $500 million, which will be invested in life sciences over the course of the next 5 years. We think it's important for a lot of reasons. You know, you hear a lot of talk about STEM, you know, science, technology, engineering, math. Not only are we encouraging our students, especially our young women, to look at these different disciplines, but we're also putting our money where our mouth is, and we are helping companies so that they can invest in Massachusetts, and those investments create jobs. And now we're hoping that we have the workforce to fill those positions, and we can be a leader in the country and in some respects across the world. Another bill that we have acted on, both the Senate and the House, is the Extreme Risk Protection Order, which is short ERPO is what it's called. And basically what that does is if somebody is a risk to themselves or perhaps suicidal, it would allow a family member, somebody who is immediately close to them, to petition the court to remove their weapons while they're in this state. They would have a hearing within 2 weeks, and it's possible that they would not have their weapons for a year. I look at it as a suicide prevention measure. You know, I'm not interested in taking people's guns away. There is a Second Amendment right, but there's also, in my opinion, the right to the pursuit of happiness, and so we just want to keep everybody. We'll see where that goes. The next step for that will be the governor's desk. We recently adopted a veterans bill called the BRAVE Act. We pride ourselves in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts of having some of the best veteran services across the United States. And in this bill, a couple things occurred. One is we implemented a $1,000 death benefit for any veteran, and then increased the funeral expense account from $2,000 to $4,000. I was happy in that bill to have an amendment adopted, and what that does is it's requiring the boards to now set up criteria so that service that people accrued during their time in the military for a trade, if they were a sheet metal worker or if they were some type of tradesperson, when they come back and they have to do an apprenticeship in Massachusetts, that their time in the military would be allotted to their apprenticeship, so that their apprenticeship would be shorter here, and that the time accrued in the military would then be applied to their efforts towards getting licensed here in Massachusetts. So it's a pretty big deal, especially right now when you look at a lot of the trades. They're having a hard time finding people to fill all their positions, yet we have soldiers coming back who have training, but it wasn't specifically Massachusetts training, and now we're trying to make sure that that is applied. One of the other initiatives we're working on and trying to get through before the end of the full formal sessions is an environmental bond bill. And this is an initiative that really started with the governor, and both the House and the Senate are anxious to work on this as well. You know, we had one of the most difficult winters we've had in a long time here in Massachusetts. A lot of communities lost their seawalls. There have been flooding incidents across the Commonwealth. And so this bill addresses some of those things. It assists communities in rebuilding their seawalls. It really makes an investment in our state parks as well, making sure that we're properly drained. There are so many different pieces to this bill. But locally, Representative Speliotis and I have authored an amendment that would hopefully get some assistance for one of the mayor's initiatives in downtown Peabody, and that is the 10 Lowell Street block, which the city purchased in the last year or so. And the idea is that you will have open space and a park on that parcel, but there's also two little fingers of the river that are underneath that building. And so we're hoping to get some money to assist with the flood mitigation, which leads into another piece, I guess, is that we had the Lieutenant Governor in Peabody, Executive Office of Environmental Affairs, a few weeks back, and they were there to award Peabody 2 grants totaling almost $500,000. It was 460, 70, somewhere around there. So the good news is that we are on the radar for some of our problems in the city of Peabody as far as flooding go, and I think the state is being incredibly responsive in assisting us as we move forward. So as I always say, anytime I can get a little attention for Peabody and get some resources to help move the city towards their goals, that's what we're here for. A month or two ago, we did a DCAM bond bill, and it's for construction, or rehabilitation of some of our university buildings and some other state investments. I was successful in that bill in having some language included that would help the city of Peabody with the water treatment plant. The Coolidge Avenue fire occurred a year and a half ago or so, but there was no money for the office build out. So we have included money in this bond bill. Now the trick is, it's in the bill, now the trick is, can we actually access it? So we're gonna have to work on that over the course of the next several months anyway. So the one thing I want to say is there are a lot of initiatives that are going on. I talked a lot about several bond bills, and I don't think anybody should get nervous and, oh my God, we're spending money like crazy. This is over the course of 5 to 10 years in a lot of these bills. So you're investing, but you're also getting a return on that investment. Like I talked about the life sciences bill, investing in new technology. In our community, we have people who work in the high-tech industry, the biotech industry, so we all work together. Another local issue that is near and dear to my heart is the whole issue of the Waters River reconstruction of the bridge over on Route 128. We started off with some very upset neighbors. We met with them in their backyard, Representative Speliotis and I, and staff from Senator Lovely's office. And this really turned into a collaborative effort through working with my colleagues here at the state level, and also Congressman Moulton's office, Mayor Betancourt's office. Everybody worked together, and the neighbors have been fantastic. Long and short of it is, we argued that a sound study should have been conducted when this project was proposed. MassDOT ultimately agreed, that was conducted, and surprisingly, or not surprisingly, the noise level exceeds what it should, and this neighborhood is in fact eligible for a sound barrier. The corridor, the Route 128 corridor, is considered one piece. So the sound testing was not just done on the southbound side, it was also conducted on the northbound side. Not only does the Tammy Lane neighborhood qualify, but so does Esquire Drive. So we will be meeting with the neighbors over the course of the next few weeks. And the project, I think, now is slated for next year, but the design has to be presented. The neighbors have some say in actually what happens there. It's really 3 phases. You have the southbound side, which is the Tammy Lane neighborhood, the northbound side, which is Esquire Drive, and then we also have the cemetery and the curb cut on 128, which is an issue in itself, but we'll leave that for another show. Just so you know, what you see behind me is people coming in to voice their opinion on, I'm not quite sure what subject today, but every day is like this, where people come in, they voice their opinions, they rally. So when the question was asked, what is any day like? Every day is different. As Andrew always says, every day is another piece of the puzzle, because this group behind me is advocating for their beliefs. Obviously, there's legislation pending that they want to see adopted, and when I go back in, we'll find out what that is. But this is part of the excitement of working at the State House, is every day is different and everybody gets their say. I think probably one of my favorite things is when people from Peabody come to visit, and whether it's somebody who happens to be in Boston and drops in. We have a few interns working with us this summer. They're not technically visitors, but we have 3 interns that are college age working with us, working on various little projects for us, getting ready so that we're researching some things that I likely will be filing as legislation for the next legislative session in 2019. But also, we had Portuguese Heritage Days recently, and we had the President of Portugal here, which was incredibly exciting for us. As you know, if you've ever taken a tour of the State House, the only time the center doors on Beacon Street is opened is when a dignitary, a president from another country, or the President of the United States comes to visit. So the red carpet was laid out over the stairs, and the President was escorted by Governor Baker right in through the center doors, which is kind of a fun thing to see from a historical sense. But also, we honored some Portuguese Americans from across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and I was honored to be able to nominate Francisco Mendonça from Peabody, and he was awarded one of the Portuguese Heritage Awards, which was really kind of fun. Not too long ago, we had a group of residents from Brooksby Village come in to visit with Senator Lovely and myself, and we had lunch up in one of the rooms right off the House chamber. No, it's just nice to have a conversation about all kinds of different topics, from do you read all your bills to the opioid crisis to health care, just a host of different issues. And I always find it fun when people come in, because it's, look, we're not that far away. It's less than 20 miles from Peabody to Boston. And when people come in, if they have the chance to come in and visit, we love that. So again, thanks for listening. I like these little shows. It gives me a chance to let people know what we're up to here on Beacon Hill. But also, I'm around town all the time. As I always say, you can find me on my island once in a while, or still we do office hours almost every month. My office phone here at the State House is 617-722-2676, and my email is thomas.walsh@mahouse.gov. Thanks.